guys, thanks for the clip. Today, I'm going to use the entire surface of my laser bed. I'm used to cutting small pieces like this that are 12 inches by 19 inches. But today, I'm going to use this 30-inch by 30-inch piece of 1/8 inch Baltic Birch plywood. So I'm going to have to cut this to size. So I'm going to get my tape measure. I'm going to take a couple of measurements of my laser bed, and let's take this material and let's go to the garage and get this project started, okay? Let's go.
I started off by getting my tape measure and measuring the inside dimensions of the width and the height of the laser bed. The x-axis measured 27.5 inches and the y-axis measured 17 3/4 inches. I then took these measurements to the garage and transferred them to the sheet of Baltic Birch. I then ripped the sheet to size using my table saw. Since I will be spray painting this sign later, I decided to lightly sand the surface with some 400 grit sandpaper. After blowing and wiping away all the dust, I will apply 2 coats of sand and sealer to the surface, sanding and cleaning after each coat. Applying sealer to the surface will seal the wood and make spray painting easier with less coats. I now take the sealed sheet back to the project room and load it into the MIRA 7, locking it down with high-powered magnets on 2 sides. I now want to set the origin of the laser head to the exact middle of the laser bed. The coordinates for that location will be x-axis 350 and the y-axis 225. Once you target in on these settings, set the origin position by pressing the origin button on the keypad. Next, I will autofocus my material by pressing the ZU button and scrolling down to autofocus and pressing enter. Okay guys, now that I'm done with those steps, let's go ahead and open up Lightburn. Okay, I just want to start off by saying this is the first time I'm using the entire surface of the laser bed. So as I'm learning this, you're going to be learning it too. Whether it's the right way, the wrong way, or just the long way, I'm going to get something to work. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on device settings. Device settings will open up a window and it'll give you the dimensions of your working size, and according to this it says it's 27.559 by 17.717, which is pretty darn close to the measurements I took with the tape measure earlier. So let's go ahead and start off by clicking the rectangle tool, and let's go ahead and make a rectangle to those dimensions, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and select the color red, and let's go ahead and click on the selection tool, and let's go ahead and make this 27.559 by 17.717, and these are the dimensions that the device setting said that the work surface was. So now that we got that done, let's go ahead and select it, and let's go ahead and move it directly over the work surface, just like that. And let's also go ahead and make sure to set our job origin to center. So let's click it right here and make sure that it's set to center. Okay, now that we have that, let's go ahead and send this job to the laser and see if we can frame this rectangle onto our material. So let's go ahead and hit send. Let's go ahead and call this rectangle 1. So let's go ahead and say okay, and it will send that job to the laser. So let's go to the laser and load it into the MIRA 7. Okay, I'm now going to click on File, then I'm going to click on Rectangle 1, and I'm going to press Enter. Now that this file is loaded into the laser, I want to frame it to see if it fits on our larger material. So now I'll press the frame button, and it immediately pops up an XY slop over error. I quickly did a Google search on that error and figured out that it means the size of the graphic is larger than the working area of the machine. Well, if that's the case, let's hit the escape button and go back to Lightburn and make our rectangle just a little bit smaller. And let's come back to Lightburn, and let's go ahead and select the rectangle, and let's click on the offset shapes button, and let's go ahead and go 1/2 inch inwards, okay? And click OK. And now we have a rectangle that is 1/2 inch smaller all the way around from the first rectangle that we drew. So let's go ahead and select the first rectangle, and we're going to change that to a tool layer, and it's going to be the blue tool layer. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and send this job to the laser, and let's call it rectangle 2, and let's see if we can frame this guy onto our material. So let's go to the laser. Okay, now I'm going to press File and select rectangle 2, and I'm going to press Enter to load it into the laser. Now that it's loaded, let's press the frame button to see if we get another XY slop error. This time I get no error, and the laser starts to frame the large rectangle onto the material. So I take a close look at the laser pointer to see exactly where the laser is framing the job. The right side, the bottom side, and the left side are framing nicely within the material. However, the top side is framing just a little too close to the metal frame of the laser bed. So I'll have to make some slight adjustments in Lightroom. Let's go ahead and make one small adjustment. And let's go ahead and select the inner rectangle, and let's drop it down 2 clicks. Okay? Now that we dropped it down 2 clicks, let's go ahead and send this job to the laser. Hit send, and we're going to call this guy rectangle 3 and send it to the laser. And we'll see how well this rectangle lines up with our material. Hopefully it's a lot better. I'm now back at the laser, and I press the File button, and I select rectangle 3, and then I press Enter. I'll now press the frame button to see what my changes look like. Now the framing on the right and left sides will remain the same, but the bottom and top should now move down a bit and place the rectangle more into the material. And now the bottom of the rectangle is framing a bit lower, while the left side remains unchanged. And now the top of the rectangle is framing a larger distance away from the metal frame of the laser bed. This is looking really good. Well, it looks like this configuration is going to frame the majority of space on the material that covers the entire laser bed. I'm pretty sure there are other ways to do this, but this worked out for me. The goal was to frame as much of the material as possible to make the final piece as big as possible. And I was successful in accomplishing that task. So nonetheless, I'll consider this a win. And this laser is now all set up and ready to cut. So now that I have the measurements of this rectangle, I can now open up Adobe Illustrator and design my monogram cut file to fit within this rectangle. See you in a few. Now that I'm done designing the file in Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to go ahead and import it into the Lightburn software. Okay, this design has 2 parts, the main cap part and the established in 2024. So let's go ahead and grab this smaller piece and move it out of the way. Now let's go ahead and select the main part of this design, which is the cat design, and let's go ahead and place it inside of the rectangle. Right about there should be good. So now that I have it inside of the rectangle, let's grab the second part and let's move the established in 2024. Let's move it about right there. And let's slide the cat design over to the left a bit, about right there. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do before sending this job to the laser, since I don't want this large rectangle cut, I'm going to change the color to black. Okay, I select black and it now creates a different layer in the Cuts and Layers window. I now go to the output of that color and I change it to off. Now this layer will not get processed. The only layer that's going to get processed is the red layer, which is going to do the cut layer, and that's set for 10 millimeters per second and 90% power. So let's go ahead and send this guy to the laser. I'm going to call it Cat Cut 1, and I'm going to select OK and send it to the laser. But before I start the cut, I want to frame it one last time just to ensure that the design fits within the material. Now that everything checks out, let me go ahead and close the lid to the laser, and I'll make sure to turn on my external compressor and open up the valve that sends the air pressure to the MIRA 7. Now that that is all done, it's now time to hit start and cut this piece out. Let's go. Well guys, as I do the final paint on this project, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope you learned something that you might find useful in your next project. And if you don't mind, please give me a thumbs up and also subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and if it happens in my world, I'll more than likely make a video of it. So until my next project, have a blessed day and God bless.